Oh man, which one were you? Oh, definitely a true sound of a flat tire. Usually when you have a big stable of bikes like this, it's hard to figure out which one it is without grabbing each one of them. But we're going to review how to fix that dreaded flat, or one of them, after this. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin, the guy. Obviously, I have a garage shop. Taking scary how to use bikes one bike at a time.
If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Well, flats are just part of cycling life, right? So let's address one of the issues that you can get flats from is actually inside the rim. It's called a rim tape. Rim tape or rim liner, and what that does is covers up the spoke holes of the rim and prevents that tube from going in and cutting into that tube. And that's where you get that psst sound sometimes. Or when you go ride, you'll hit something and you check your tire and your tire's fine. And if you do the tricks of lining up your valve core with the logo of the tire, then you can kind of triangulate where that flat came from by inflating the old tube with the hole and kind of figure out where it is. Then you can determine if it's actually the tire or the rim tape. We're going to talk about rim tape. Rim tape, the manufacturers, they throw on the less expensive one than they can out of the gate, and usually they work just fine. But as an aftermarket, Velox rim tape is the trusty, true ones used by most mechanics, and the Velox tape has been around for years. What's nice about Velox tape, it's kind of reusable, so you can kind of pull it back to replace the spoke and put it back down, and usually holds its tension and stickiness. Also, the Velox tape is actually a cloth. It comes in different widths. The majority of the bikes I work on is a 16 millimeter. You want to have it wide enough to cover the cavity, or a good portion of the cavity of the rim well, which is inside here. So in this particular wheel that died on me, or a tube just hissed at me after I installed it, you can see right here where the rim tape is shifted over, and that's where that tube went in, 110 or 100 psi per square inch cut into that tube. So this rim tape, it's not, I don't want to reuse it. It's kind of thin and flimsy anyway, and it was probably a little bit too thin to be used for this particular rim well, which is a little bit wider. So the Velox does make a skinnier version of this. Beware of that. Don't purchase that. Also get something that's a little bit wider, but don't get too wide because you don't want to go up inside the lip here where the tire is supposed to seat. So we're going to peel. The easiest way to do this is if you still have it on a bike stand, or for me, I have a trusty truing stand, which makes it a little bit easier to do and kind of focus on. So you get your wheel in here, then you find that old tape and you just kind of peel it back and expose all those spoke holes of the rim. And this one actually has, whew, look at that metal shaving. You don't want that in there. That's no good. That's from drilling, from building the actual wheel itself. So once we clear out any of the debris, apparently this had debris, make sure that's all cleared out. Then, well, I got the big roll because I go through a lot of rim tape. For you, there'll be a consumer roll size for these, 16 mil. You can order online or your local shop. For me, I'm going to have to measure this out first, then cut it. I find my spoke hole. What I like to do is you want to have this as an overlap. So go over a couple holes over, and on the rim tape that you'll get for the consumer, it will be a pre-cut hole where you'll line up for your Presta or Schrader valve. So you'll need to do that. This tape is not for using for tubeless. This is specifically Clincher tires with standard tubes, so keep that in mind. And I'm just going to go over the whole thing because I need to cut it, and my spoke or my valve core is here, so I'm going to overlap a little bit here. Grab my scissors and just do an angle cut so I can pick at it if I need to. Then I go back, and what your roll will look like, and let's see if I do have one that it'll look like this, and it'll have a pre-hole already in there. And that's what you line up with your valve core. For me, I use my bulk. I guess I could have used that one. Actually, that is a same, actually a little bit wider. It'll actually fit this rim a little better. So you know what? I'm going to backtrack. Since this is a wider rim, I'm going to since I know I can reuse this. Actually, what I'll use is the actual. Boop. Okay, I'll rewrap that with the actual plastic sleeve that's in there. So going back, I'll lay this out. So you're going to see that's going to have an extra coverage. And the reason why I haven't used this already is because this is a little bit wider DI of a rim than your standard road. So you want to lay it in there, make sure you have a clear line of sight. And this one's actually the 19 millimeter, so it's more of your mountain bike or cross rim style, or a little bit wider rim. Most of the time a 16 will fit, so I should have measured that before, but hey, you're going to get an insight. And that you just want to press it down firmly with your thumb that seats in there. And see how it goes up to the lips on both sides? So your tire can still get in there, but also it gives you a full coverage, and this will less likely shift like you saw on that skinnier, older tape. So they just put a inexpensive tape in there where it caused that to shift. And give it a good firm press. And keep proceeding. And with metal shavings from the manufacturer like that, it will break free and you'll hear that ting-ting-ting-ting-ting-ting sound. And it'll drive you crazy as you're riding. You'll sound like spoke beads, you know those spoke beads as a kid? So this one's perfectly cut, so it overlaps just a little bit. There. And you get it nice and taut. And I just go through again with my fingers and press down firmly. Ooh, I kind of burned a little. So what I'm going to do is with my tape that I just cut, put it back on this little plastic thing so it's ready for the next one. Like so. So talking about rim tape, and there's various types, and there's some that's specifically designed for, like Bontrager will have its own kind of, it's actually kind of like a big plastic sleeve that snaps into place. And sometimes those are considered tubeless style. So be mindful of that. But if you're working on older bikes like I am, like this guy here, and you use Clincher tires with regular standard tubes, the rim tape is something that you definitely want to, if you need to replace it with good stuff like the Velox tape. In addition to make sure you install it correctly so it doesn't expose those spoke holes. And it also, you want to make sure you get the right size. Size is huge because there's a skinnier version of this, which was similar, it was on there. That will slide around, especially if you need to replace tires and tubes. It'll be a bit an issue. And of course, the rear wheel usually takes most of the hits, so most of your flats will be the rear wheel. So if you have the bulk like I do, which most likely you won't, if you do, you just kind of cut a hole where the spoke is, and I just usually overlap. But for the general consumer rolls, that's just a better way to go. It's just a little bit cheaper since I go through quite a few of these periodically. That is something I do inspect on a lot of bikes that I purchase due to the fact that I do change out tires as well. And you can see it's still maintaining its stickiness as I'm still rolling this back up, and it'll be ready for the next wheel that I need to do. But rim tape, the mystery behind it, that's how you install it. And again, if you do the tubeless system, there'll be a different tape for that, or a different kind of plastic sleeve that goes in there that's specifically for tubeless. This actually tape is also used for like the older mountain bikes, tires, and so forth. And there's other tapes out there, but most mechanics have been around for a while and used a lot of different tape. You definitely want to use the high pressure Velox tape made in France, like so. Other tidbits like that, other links in the descriptions of insightful information. Hopefully that helps and clears the mud of what that is. And now we'll put the tire and tube on. And remember, put that valve core next to the decal, and also check for the tire directional arrow. Make sure it's going the right direction. So if you do get a flat, you can triangulate where that flat came from. And if you do get multiple flats, it's always good to have extra tube, an extra patch kit, and several either CO2 cartridges to air up your tires. So if you get multiple flats, because sometimes you'll miss this. Sometimes it's a piece of glass you just don't see, and it just gets you again. So worst case, I've had 3 flats in one ride. Horrible experience, but with those CO2 cartridges and extra sticky tube, or you can use either the patches with the glue, which takes a little bit longer to do, or just the sticker ones. Those work as well. Also, links to those in the description for other tips and tricks, and also accessories and things and parts and things to do things like this, to fix things. If it's nice in your neighborhood, go out and go for a ride. Nothing like getting the wind in your face, hair blowing in the wind. Until next time in the garage.